right, it says it's been a little bit wonky. Is that finally live? Now it's saying 10. Oh man, this has been a it's jumping all over. Now it's saying 40 seconds in. Well, this is Oliver, and I'm here in a bunker I call Studio 72, the People's Republic of Multnomah County, or Portland, I guess, depending on how you look at it. I've got a few things here lined up, but I've got so many little items up on the browser that I'm not sure it's going to function. It's been very glitchy, and it didn't even want to play this. So use YouTube stream, but basically, I was going through some of the Epstein files, and there's been a lot of discussion about who's who and what's what. I read one article that they're trying to say that Epstein was working for the Russians, the Ruskies, the Soviet Union. Couldn't have been connected to a tiny little country in the Middle East. No way. In fact, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu came out today on an X post and said that the Epstein files being released proves that he was not with Israel in any way, because Barack, the previous PM, was trying to undermine him and his policies and agenda for many, many years. So it proved all of these high-ranking Israeli intelligent players in contact with Jeffrey Epstein every week, if not every day, on the island every month, if not every other month. So it's so silly. Even Alex Jones, even InfoWars, Alex was saying he was primarily CIA. And I think he referred to the MI6, British intelligence, and the Israeli intelligence as the tail, wagging the tail of the dog, and the dog was the CIA. Now, I beg to differ on that. These are all my opinions, only my opinions. I don't represent any organization. I have no inside intelligence. I've got no whistleblowers. I've got nothing. I got nobody. I got psychic intuition, and I've got kind of a weaponized autism for doing a little bit of research. But I keep that in check with plenty of fluids. You got to drink your water. Don't get dehydrated. You gotta stay hydrated. So I wanted to show a couple of things. We'll just see how the computer's going to play here. It might be clipping. I may not be able to use this, but I'm going to go ahead and try that. If you notice, this is a different screen. It's not on the phone. It's actually an upgraded Windows on my laptop, which the laptop camera has been down for quite some time. So without any further ado, I think I kind of just wanted to prep that up. Well, no, I got to prep it up a little bit more. I'm not quite done prepping it up. Just the basics. I'm going to dive right in here, and we'll see how far I can get into it. But in addition to the framing, they're framing it, trying to make it look like he had, I don't even know why it's such a big deal, but they're in deep, deep denial. Trump is in denial. Israel is in denial, deep denial of what was going on this island, and the influence directly in American politics, the influence directly that Epstein had on the Clinton's White House. So you've got 92, 96, 2000. Then there's George Bush. He's got a whole bunch of George Bush players there on the island. Was it Leon Black? Was Panetta? Is Leon Panetta on there? I know Leon Black. There's a whole bunch of different names that are connected there. And then you've got the Obama administration. So with the Obama administration, we all know that That DOJ and FBI was all carryovers from the Clinton administration. The corruption ran very deep. We saw that with Operation Hurricane, that was spying on Trump's administration and Trump's people and Trump's friends and family and business associates before and during his first administration, but before his administration as well. We see all of that being leading back to Obama in with the Clinton takeover of the inside DOJ. Again, I'm an outsider. I'm just gathering intelligence. I'm gleaning. They call it gleaning. I'm gleaning intelligence. It's just my opinion. It doesn't mean that it's truthful. I'm not spreading any disinformation. Okay? You with me there? This is just simply my interpretation of some of these details and facts. Now, diving in, I've got a couple of articles about this. What's her name? I put her name on the header. The name of the lady that is the. Well, she's not caught up, but some operatives are caught up on the inauguration of 2017. This would be this is Trump's January after the election. He won. And if you remember, there was limos that were burned. There was violence everywhere. It was almost like it was premeditated and already pre-planned, right? It felt like that to me. But that's easy to pass off as I am a conspiracy analyst. I tend to fall into rabbit holes very quickly. Fortunately for me, I can get out of the rabbit holes just as quickly as I fell into them, which some people can never get back out of that rabbit hole, right? Are you with me? So, but there is these riots that are taking place. It's very obvious to me that any violence at any riot is staged. Really, you got agent provocateurs. It only takes a couple of these dipshits in the crowd to totally persuade and change the entire mood and feel of a quote unquote peaceful protest or peaceful crowd or something like this. And I've seen that with decades and decades of, they called Portland, my hometown, Little Beirut. I think that was Bush Sr. that called us Little Beirut. Now, we didn't get that title for no reason. There's a lot of, and one could argue they bring a lot of people here to Portland. That's one of my theories. People are sent here and they bring them in. But I guess that's another side argument, or it's important, but I mean, because how much of these people are organic and originally from Portland? I mean, it makes me wonder. I've got to wonder because I've been here my whole life, and I recognize people that haven't been here, right? Especially in a march. But okay, so now the reason that's important, they're a little long-winded on the riot part, is because this high-profile attorney, who's very easy on the eyes, I would actually call her kind of a cutie or a little hottie or I was going to say it's not really beautiful. What does beautiful mean? It's like she's not really got the supermodel thing, but there's something there. But what she comes out of, she's parachuted in. We're talking about Goldman Sachs level. We're talking about the lady who was counseling Barack Hussein Obama's presidency. She was in the White House. She's right there. Anybody that knows her, anybody that's connected to her, would be like having a fly on the wall of the Barack administration. That's extremely valuable when you're doing business around the world with a bunch of shady fucks, as Jeffrey Epstein does on his little island and over in all of his properties. We got the New York, we got triangulation over here, Zorro Ranch, where people are claiming there's bodies buried up in the hills around Zorro Ranch. I'm not buying a lot of that. I'm not buying anything at this point because it's just wild fake AI videos, fake AI pictures. There's a bunch of crazy fucking stories coming out. And I think it's wise to move slow, to use discernment, be very critical and scrutinize, because they want to lead you off the truth with these crazy, insane stories that they can come back and say, oh, we debunked it. Oh, it's all debunked. Oh, yeah. That's what Pizzagate framing was. There's no such thing as Pizzagate. Pizzagate was invented, just like the term conspiracy theorist by the CIA. Pizzagate was invented. I suggest to you to re-examine the use of that term. It doesn't mean anything. It turned into a filing cabinet of any type of crime, junk, dirt, any kind of young child, any kind of trafficking, any kind of anything goes into this huge filing cabinet that they put this big label on that said Pizzagate. Things that were so wild, things that were so ridiculous, they couldn't be proved unless you were there, and you're not there. We're not there. We're on the outside. Let's just get real about it. I'm sure we might have some whistleblowers. We do, from this death cult Sex Island. Sure, we got whistleblowers from even inside the Obama administration. But this player, this lady, who I'll start with the if I can get it to transfer over, I'm going to start with the actual Epstein files email and see if we can just go through there. And should I try the entire screen? I'm going to try to do the entire screen. And I want to go to justice.gov. Okay, so I'm hoping that you can see that. I think that I've got YouTube is sharing your screen. I think I've got that to even see. I'll see if I can bump it a little bit here. It's 110. Does it go 120? 125? Can you see that? Is that any better? I hope that it is. So this is from Kathy Ruemmler. Ruemmler? I think that's how you pronounce your name. I have no idea, but I'm giving a jab at it. Kathy Ruemmler. Well, Kathy Ruemmler is the high-profile Goldman Sachs White House attorney, lead counsel to Barack Obama. This is from Kathy Ruemmler herself to Jeffrey Epstein, right? They have this relationship where he is giving her all kinds of stuff. Apparently, monthly flowers, day spas, $10,000 purses. You'll see that in an article, and I'll show that. We'll go through that article just briefly. But it says the subject, Forward Press, Heat Street, shady Israeli mogul hires ex-White House counsel to represent employee arrested in an inauguration day riot, raising questions. So Kathy says, look at this craziness. Equal BR greater than. What is that? Is that Banana Republic? Begin forwarded messages. We go down here. There's a bunch. Those are a couple of other email addresses that are blanked out. This is from Zubak Jamie. So these are from the people. This is the ownership of the email. So this was sent to Kathy, and this is coming out of Zubak, Jamie Zubak. And Jamie says, I'm dying to hear about your weekend. I can't take credit, but I heard someone say that you handling this was like asking your buddies if they had anyone who could fill in for a pickup game, and somebody sends over LeBron, the basketball legend. So lots of humor in these dark Epstein emails. So this to Jamie Glickman, somebody says, I don't know if that's gotta love the conspiracy theorists. So that's mockery. My interpretation of that is they're making a joke out of the joke of the reality of it. See? So that says from Kathy to Jamie Glickman, gotta love the conspiracy theorists, right? Because these crazy, shady Israeli moguls, who could that possibly be, right? You know, and I know. Hi, Kathy and Stuart. You may have already seen this article, but sharing it just in case you haven't. Please let us know if it can be of any help. Coordinating with the client's PR firm, which Stuart mentioned that you were doing yesterday. According to Wikipedia, Heat Street is a libertarian conservative news, opinion, and commentary website. Launched in February 2016, the website is headed by US-based British writer and former politician Louise Mensch. It is owned by News Corp. Shady Israeli mogul hires and security firms working for repressive regimes is growing. The questions about Matania Mati, for short, Kochavi, were sparked again this weekend when Catherine Ruemmler, who until recently was President Obama's White House counsel, showed up on Saturday morning in a local Washington, D.C. court to represent one of the 217 people arrested for rioting in Inauguration Day. That's got the Heat Street link. Miss Ruemmler said she was there to represent a journalist on assignment for the media company Vocative, who have gotten swept up with the protesters in the arrest. So what this tells me, this is what it says to me. Now, you may not be reading what I'm reading, but this says to me that this was an operative who was in the crowd from the Israeli mogul working with this Vocative Kochavi guy, right? And he got swept up. And so, like everybody that's always in there, all the anarchists say, oh, I'm journalist, I'm press. This guy says he does the same thing as the other 200. But the difference is this Goldman Sachs, Catherine Ruemmler, high-ranking Obama White House, former Obama White House counsel comes in to represent this little dumb nuts that got swept up. I mean, you can't make that up. That doesn't happen every day. There's a reason that happened. There's a reason that this kid is different than all the rest of all the other dipshit dumb fucks that were down there rioting. Vocative is owned by Kochavi. Reporters at the courthouse asked why a big gun like Ruemmler, who has long been a specialist in corporate crime, would show up for what would seem to be a misunderstanding involving a BuzzFeed by Jeffrey Epstein. These are Epstein people. This is a look in the inside of the upper echelon of the Israeli operating families and players. This Kochavi is still doing business. Kochavi is still in the Israeli and spy airplane business, which that spy plane part really rings a bell with Mrs. Owens, Candace Owens, the airplanes around where she discovered they were following Mr. and Mrs. Charlie Kirk for over 3 years. And these airplanes, spy planes, which I've got an article on, were following them. She first thought they were following Charlie. Then she realized that they were following Erica Kirk, his wife, the old lady. Why? And why were those airplanes or some of them connected to this, what do you call it, a legion of airplanes? I don't know what you call that, a gaggle, a group of airplanes, were there on the day of the assassination, or the day before, very closely. The firm Lawson and Watkins, the firm is one of the most prestigious law shops in New York and Washington, with partners such as Ruemmler, and charging thousands of dollars an hour. Thousands of dollars an hour. And all of a sudden, this little Israeli asset who was there setting fires, Molotov cocktails, committing crimes, serious crimes, not just graffiti and little tags, serious crimes. If you remember, it was very violent here in Portland, but I remember watching the live streams all across the country. It was violent. It was explosively violent when Trump won and upset the apple cart. She did look somewhat out of place among the lawyers there to defend anarchists, right? And other alleged troublemakers, right? Who are charged with rioting, burning a limo, smashing up stores on the streets of the Capitol. Quote, the individual charged were generally brought in front of the judge in groups of 10 and were represented by a cadre of public defenders and other court-appointed lawyers, according to BuzzFeed. That was not the case when it came to Vocativ. Based in New York and Tel Aviv, Vocativ publishes mostly reprints of health studies, aggravated videos for Facebook, and female-focused feature pieces. The company, which employs a large team of U.S. journalists and ex-Israeli intelligence operatives, claims to use technology from the intelligence world to source its stories. Indeed, its founder, Kochavi, has a background in Israeli intelligence, having made his fortune providing security and military-grade public safety solutions to the super-rich Emirate of Abu Dhabi through an entity called AGT. Kochavi and Epstein and Israeli intelligence. AGT was responsible for installing a 9-QNX civil surveillance network at Abu Dhabi. That means every person is monitored from the moment they leave their doorstep to the moment they return to it, according to the noted security publication Middle East Eye. The invasive system is dubbed Falcon Eye. Falcon Eye. Kochavi also owns Israeli security and private intelligence firms 3i Mind and Logic Industries, like Vocativ, 3i Mind claims to use the deep web to mine information. Through its 3i Mind's case, it provides spy services, not journalistic ones. 3i Mind even advertises online that it will spy on the planning and execution of violent civil unrest for clients. End quote. You can't make this up. It's all right here. This is the instigators of the violence with their operatives right here saying point blank, this is what our expertise is. We plan and execute violent civil unrest against Donnie, against Trump, against those people that were not being controlled outside of the Epstein loop, Democrats and neoliberals. The website for Kochavi's mother company, AGT, claims its current business is using the Internet of Things, 80s, unclear what any of these applications really are. It's got a couple of links mixed in there, and certainly what value they provide for entertainment. Security experts say Internet of Things type sensors could be tied together to monitor crowds for security purposes. Now, that would explain at the University of Valley, Utah, that we've got dozens and dozens of Israeli intelligent operatives' phones. So not only are their phones pinging off of a server in Tel Aviv, there actually are Israeli phones being used pinging off of a Tel Aviv server. This is the same players. This is the same people right here. This guy right here, this Kochavi, and this is just my opinion, but I can tell you with that psychic intuition, this Kochavi guy knows, if not was directly involved in this University of Valley, Utah situation. It's his business. And with all of the data, we've got spy planes in here that Candace has discovered and tracked. Everyone poo-pooed. She was right. They were off maybe 25, 30% of the time. So what? You guys missed the whole fact that planes are tracking and spying not only on Charlie, but his old lady and family and business partners. That's very important, InfoWars. That's very important. All you critics. And you know who you are. I know who you are too, but that's okay. Arrested amid the unrest on the inauguration. Was he actually doing journalism? Probably not. Or, as some journalists around town have been asking, could he also have been doing surveillance of anti-Trump demonstrators on behalf of an Arab or Israeli client, possibly a foreign government? Wow. I mean, what an effing question. What an effing question. This is still that article. A call to Ruemmler was returned by someone identifying himself as vocative spokesperson. He told Heat Street that the arrested employee, Evan Engel, was doing purely journalistic work at the time he was detained. He's just taking pictures, guys. The arrest, detainment, and rioting charge against journalist Evan Engel, who was covering the forest for vocative, are an effort to the First Amendment and journalistic freedom, the spokesperson said. Vocative will vigorously contest this unfounded and outrageous charge. It sounds like attorney for Don Lemon, right there in Minneapolis, charging the church and scaring the crap out of the kids. Kochavi has taken pains to put a different face, unrelating to spying and surveillance on his American activities. Vocative acts like a news organization, though it's made little splash and gets remarkably little web traffic for an operation so large and expensive. So the paper is just calling it out. He totally exposed him. His longtime business partner, New York rainmaking lawyer Mary Edelman, I didn't look her up. Look up Mary Edelman. Offered Bill Clinton millions of dollars to serve as honorary chairman of the company that he would become vocative. So he's bringing in Bill Clinton's people, right? I mean, this is a window and a snapshot into how these people operate, how the Democrat Party became captured with the Clintons through the Obama, and now with good old Biden, who was with the Obamas, who were with the Clintons. There's some little factions that are fighting over their egos, but make no mistake, these people in the end of the day are covering each other's tracks in their elitist circles. So Clinton turned them down, perhaps nervous about Kochavi, who 80's been described as a mysterious, even somewhat shady character, and the Israeli version of the old-fashioned arms dealer with a suit and an MBA by the progressive Jewish blog Tikkun Olam. Wow, so he's been getting some harsh press there from the insiders. And now Kochavi has purchased the services of President Obama's former White House counselor, Ruemmler, whose name was once on the short list. It's another link for U.S. Attorney General. It's a fair question to ask. Why was Ruemmler really down in local D.C. court on a Saturday morning? Why was getting this vocative employee off the hook such a priority? Why would you spend that kind of money on just some little punk that's randomly taking pictures in D.C.? And what is any other services has Ruemmler, the corporate crime expert, been providing to Kochavi and his various intelligent operations around the world? Question mark. Like the Virgin Islands, like the death sex cult Epstein's gotten fancy blue and white stripes on? Maybe. Well, I don't know. Could be, allegedly. Ruemmler herself has not returned requests for comment. January 23rd, 2017. Hi, Kathy. In case you haven't seen, links were 404 for me. I could not get. I don't even think the BuzzFeed link was any good. It was 404 too. So, you got this Zoe Tillman. She's clearly a Mossad quote unquote journalist. She's been all over. She's with BuzzFeed. I think. So this is just another article here. This should be in the show notes. I put all of these articles here. One lawyer argued that the U.S. Attorney's Office should recuse from prosecuting the cases because the defendants were charged with participating in an anti-Trump riot, and Trump was now in charge of the U.S. Department of Justice. So that's a conflict of interest now, was one of these little dipshit attorneys' argument. I mean, that's just a joke. I bet you the judge actually chuckled or laughed out loud. I appreciate all the creative arguments, 9D Magistrate Judge Rainey Brandt said in response, but she said that at this early stage of the case, she only had to find that the government had shown probable cause to move the cases forward. That's all she's got to do. Then there's little forwarded, it's a big joke, right? Look at this craziness, right? It's all just crazy. And then they're talking about shady Israel. How about Epstein, for one, that's been treating her like some sort of high-priced escort or what? I mean, who do you send flowers and chocolates and jewelry and necklaces that hundreds of thousands of dollars? Why? Why are you doing that? Because he's buying access. He is purchasing access into that Barack Obama's White House. Okay, so are we still in? So that's the one email there. This here, let's see if this one works. Hopefully you can see that. Ruemmler's secret Epstein ties explode into scandal. Goldman Sachs lawyer at center of Washington firestorm. I don't know if it ever really got into that heated of a. So here she is. You see her here. She's probably got this $10,000 necklace is probably one of Jeffrey's gifts. You can see, I mean, she's kind of a cutie. I mean, I would think she's kind of a cutie. Goldman Sachs is publicly supporting its top lawyer, Kathy Ruemmler, after a congressional committee released old emails showing her friendly exchanges with Jeffrey Epstein. These messages were written years before she joined the company in 2020, but they're drawing major attention because Epstein was already of their friendly emails. Ruemmler, who previously served with Epstein from 2015 to 2018, we've got emails all the way up to 2019. Latham and Watkins leading its white. She told the Wall Street Journal that she regretted ever knowing Epstein. Isn't that a reoccurring one-liner? I regret ever doing business with him. I really regret ever making it to that island 47 times. The emails were released. That was Bill Gates. The emails were released by the House Oversight Committee after it subpoenaed Epstein's estate. The messages included light conversations, reaction to news story, and mentions of public figures such as Trump, Bill Clinton, Zuckerberg, Steve Bannon, Michael Cohen, Stormy Daniels, Karen McDougal, and Ruth Bader Ginsburg. The now crossed over sushi for you. This exchange took place about 17 months before Epstein was on federal child sex trafficking charges. He died weeks later in Manhattan jail. Well, allegedly he died. Allegedly, we're not totally sure. In one August 2015 email thread, Ruemmler made a remark about Trump, and Epstein responded by asking when she would be in New York. She then joked about stopping at a New Jersey Turnpike rest stop filled with people she described as very overweight. In January 2016, Epstein told her he had stopped speaking to Bill Clinton after Clinton gave him two different stories just weeks apart. Well, goodness gracious. Clinton and Jeffrey had a little disagreement alongside Ruth Bader Ginsburg at a state dinner. She replied that the dress was Narciso Rodriguez and asked where he saw the photo. Epstein said it was on major news channels after Ginsburg apologized for comments she made about Trump. So he's like stalking her. He's all over this woman, all over. He sees her where she's at, what she's attending, what she's wearing, exchanges about high-profile figures and news events. Other messages show Ruemmler reacting to news involving Trump. In 2017, she wrote that Trump was truly stupid, quote unquote, truly stupid. Do you think he is? I mean, I wonder. Are we dealing with a truly stupid individual? Or is he just making some bad decisions? He never spied on his administration when they were caught red-handed. I'll show you the article. What's IQ on Jeffrey Epstein? You know, because he really looks like he's out of his fucking head. And then people are making arguments that he knew about fractional reserve banking, and he's making some sort of argument either for or against it, whatever the hell he was talking about. And people are like, see, he's a genius. He was a genius. He knew about the fractional banking. Earlier that, I'm not convinced he was smart at all, but hey, whatever. Earlier that year, she wrote that Trump was, quote unquote, so gross. And Epstein said he was even worse in person. Some emails included forwarded messages from Steve Bannon, the War Room. Good old buddy Steve Bannon. Well, what's Bannon doing there with Jeffrey Epstein? Bannon suggested a private off-the-record meeting that included Bill Clinton. Ruemmler replied that Clinton's attorney would advise him not to attend. In other exchange, she reacted with barf when Epstein relayed a complaint from a woman about a man named Ben wanting her to do wife-like things. In June 2018, Epstein mentioned Mark Zuckerberg, saying he wanted to bring the internet to the rest of the world and expand healthcare. Epstein commented on Priscilla Chan and asked Ruemmler what challenges she saw in those efforts. Another message referenced news involving Michael Cohen, Stormy Daniels, and Karen McDougal, tied to discussions of hush money payments. Goldman Sachs reaffirms its position. Jeffrey Epstein helped fund a lavish lifestyle for former Obama White House counsel and current Goldman Sachs general counsel Catherine Ruemmler, who he sometimes turned to for legal advice, newly released records show. Epstein purchased a number of gifts for Ruemmler between 2014 and 2019, including designer bags worth thousands and electronics, while regularly putting down his credit card to cover expenses like facials, haircuts, spa days. I mean, that's groomer 101. That's grooming 101. You're buying spa trips, you're getting facials, you're cutting their hair the way you like it. That's grooming 101. Among these gifts for items like blue set up on his email at times to send her flowers or purchase a recently unsealed court filing and civil lawsuit brought by Epstein victims suggested Ruemmler advised Epstein on legal matters, including relating to maintaining his 2008 non-prosecution agreement and public statements to the media, CNN reported January 20th. Ruemmler previously told CNN she did not represent him and was not compensated by him in quote. Quote, I was one of a number of lawyers Epstein informally reached out to for advice. Previously released. This is important because this is establishing precedent. This is establishing his reach. This is establishing control. A high level, high end Goldman Sachs lady used as a puppet master. I mean, he's directing her. He's grooming her. He's taking care of her. He's sending her all these gifts and handbags and fashions and jackets and clothes, and he's just totally dialed her in as she is escalating up into the ladder of the Democrat Party, telling him, feeding Jeffrey all that intel that he sees. In fact, influencing the Barack Obama White House with her as the counsel, giving Barack Obama the insight and direction that Jeffrey Epstein preferred or wanted with his international foreign interest and best interests that they have. See, you see where I'm going here? This is huge. This is who this guy was. It wasn't just about underage girls and hooking up, some escorts with putting a little icing on the business deals and throwing wild cocaine parties. Yes, that was a part of it. That wild cocaine parties were across this country through the 80s and 90s. FYI, all right? Even the working class was indulging on cocaine parties because it was everywhere and so cheap and so predominant. For real. I'm not dismissing that, but this is under the arms dealership. As I do the search engine there through the Epstein files, I'm looking at arms dealer in code words like this under their little search key. This comes up. These are the arms dealer. This is what it was really about. This is what this was all about. Arms dealing and embryo, stem cells, cloning. Yes, there was girls involved. Yes, of course there's prostitutes involved. There always is. You can't have politics without high-end, very beautiful, very gorgeous escorts, working girls, prostitutes. They're always been there. That's way beyond just sex death cult island. Previously released email correspondence reveal Ruemmler consulted Epstein when deciding whether to accept an offer to become Obama's attorney general. She's consulting. The lawyer, Goldman Sachs attorney, is consulting Jeffrey Epstein, dumbnuts down in the Virgin Islands, whether she should take this high-end job for Obama as AG, as well as on smaller problems like whether she should travel first class or business. Was some pampering Epstein wrote in August 2016, emailing directly somebody whose name is redacted in the records, to organize a half day at the Four Seasons Spa in Washington, D.C. Probably several $1,000s spa day. Thank you again, Ruemmler replied to the individual who arranged the spa day at Epstein's expense. And thanks to Uncle Jeffrey, quote unquote, and thanks to Uncle Jeffrey. So now you have her referring to Uncle Jeffrey, the Israeli on Epstein Island with the Israeli connections, and MI6, and FBI, and CIA connections. Yes, it was not his primary boss. His primary boss was people in Israeli intelligence, as I've just pointed out. Booking confirmations or requests for credit card authorizations show he covered other spa days in New York. One receipt shows Epstein paid $658 for Ruemmler's hair appointment. Kathy should not spend money there. He instructed an individual to pay for her entire year of facials. A year of facials at a high-end spa. Thousands and thousands of dollars, if not $10,000. On Christmas Day in 2015, Epstein directed someone to arrange a first-class trip to Geneva for Ruemmler. What in the fuck, guys? I adore him, Ruemmler wrote to the individual organizing her trip on Epstein's behalf, whose name is redacted. It's like having another older brother. So now we got Uncle Jeffrey, and now we got an older brother in reference. Ruemmler wrote that she, quote, never feels as if I can return the kindness adequately, end quote. Whoa, right? I mean, where's she going with that? She appears to have missed the flight, according to a later January 2nd email. Oh, brother. Another email from October 2016 shows Epstein's assistant asking a travel company to avoid a ticket purchased in her name to fly from New York to Virgin Islands, where because, quote unquote, she can't play hooky from work after all, end quote. What? All content created by the Daily Caller News Foundation, independent nonpartisan news source, is available without charge to any legitimate news publisher. Okay. So that's giving us a little background here. It's Trump's policies. Epstein ties explode into scandal. I think this is what I read coming into it. Yeah. So, and then now I want to go into, it's like how back to that question of what is the IQ of Trump? Now, I've never thought that he was anything less than a business genius, man. Okay. Oh, are they they're gonna put a power wall on that one? Wow. Or they're hitting get this one in here. Israel accused of planting spying device. Now, this is 6 years old. This is from the first administration. How could Trump not know this was going on? Administration, they would tip him off. Why? Because they're all with the same cabal of Israeli centristic intelligent agencies. CIA has a that we're not evidence in facts of what the Israeli government has done for decades. It's what they do. It's what they do. I have a CIA from 1986, a CIA. You're going back 50 years. And other sensitive locations in the U.S. Capitol over the past 2 years, according to a report from Politico that cited 3 former U.S. officials, including the contents of phone calls. The U.S. government concluded Israeli operatives were most. The office of the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu rejected the accusations as a quote-unquote blatant. In one article, one of the 3 former intelligence is the most its ally. Quote, the intelligence official was quoted as saying, yeah, well, they completely at Jeffrey Epstein's disposal, and he was connected to all the players that I just said in the first article. Kochavi. One former senior intelligence officer was quoted as saying, quote, with the current administration, there are a different set of calculations in regard to addressing this, end quote. The Guardian was unable to immediately verify the report, which has emerged as Netanyahu fights for political survival before elections next week. That guy's been bouncing off of the rings of corruption and indictments since the first term. It said the FBI with other agencies has used detailed forensic analysis of the devices known as stingrays, to link them to Israeli agents. Quote, it was pretty clear that the Israelis were responsible, a former senior intelligence official was quoted as saying. The Israeli embassy spokesman in Washington, Elad Stromeyer, former denied the accusation, saying, quote, these allegations are absolute nonsense. Israel doesn't conduct espionage operations in the United States, period. The White House and the Russian president